Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. It is a great privilege to be able to introduce you to our new ambassador to the European Union. Ambassador Andy Puzder is an old friend of mine back to California days. And when President Trump nominated him in January to join the EU as the ambassador from the United States, I was very happy because it's a very complicated, unwieldy assignment. There are 27 member countries in the European Union. They have 450 million people. A lot of financial activity goes on. Andy Puzder is not only a very sharp lawyer, but a very successful businessman. Andy, welcome back. Good to see you again. Where are you? Are you in Cleveland or are you on your way to Brussels yet?
It's great to see you, buddy. I am in New York. We're getting ready to head to Brussels on Monday night.
Okay, we have 8 minutes, and I'm so glad, Mr. Ambassador, and that's what I'm going to call you now, that you had time in your schedule. What do you view as your mission? Because the EU, I really don't know what to make of it some days. Some days it drives me crazy, and other days I know they're an important trading partner. What do you think?
Well, they're a huge trading partner. They are, in fact, our largest trading partner. People talk about China, but the EU is a much larger trading partner. We've got an economy with them of about $8.6 trillion. There's about 16 million jobs dependent on this transatlantic relationship. They've got we want them to continue to grow and continue to thrive economically, and we've got this great trade deal now where we're protecting ourselves from being taken advantage of, but we still want them to grow and prosper. They've committed to spend 5% of their GDP on defense. That money's going to have to come from somewhere, and I suspect it'll be from economic growth. They also face a lot of the same problems in the world that we face. They've got problems with bad actors on the world stage, particularly in the economy, the trade area, where you've got countries that dump product. I guess I shouldn't name the one that does this, but I think everybody knows that dumps product, that doesn't have regulatory transparency, that uses mercantilism, tries to take advantage of their trade, the size of their economy to disadvantage other countries, that doesn't respect intellectual property rights. These are problems we share and things we should be able to work on together.
So, Ambassador Puzder, did President Trump give you any particular?
Andy will be fine, Hugh. It's been years.
No, I gotta get in the habit. It is appropriate when we're dealing with a credentialed representative of the United States government to use their title. But did the president give you any particular instructions? Because he blows hot and cold on the EU. He hates their bureaucracy. He doesn't. Germany and France have turned their back on Israel while President Trump has been standing tall for Israel. Any particular marching orders from the Oval Office?
Obviously I can't talk about direct conversations with the president, but his focus remains on implementing the trade deal. Now that we have a trade deal and we got the outline of it yesterday, so everybody can focus on trying to implement it, and that'll be part of what I'm doing over there. We also need to deal with the regulatory burden that the EU imposes on itself and indirectly on the United States. Particularly, they've got something called the Digital Services Act that not only is repressing free expression in Europe, but it has a spillover effect where it's repressing free expression in the United States. And obviously, we can't let foreign governments do to American citizens what our government can't do to American citizens, which is suppress their right to speak freely. They've got something called the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, and the actual directive is longer than the name would even apply. But it would try and impose on the United States elements of the Paris Climate Accord and about 11 human rights accords, eight of which we haven't ratified. So there's regulatory overreach. I'll need to work on that. China is going to be a big deal. We want coordinated action on China. That's what will be most effective for both Europe and the United States. And then, of course, there's Ukraine. We've got to see what we can do to try and bring about peace in Ukraine. This is the peace president. Even Bill Maher has admitted that this President Trump just hates war. He doesn't like the killing. He doesn't like the atrocities. Now, no president does, but I think nobody's been more active in trying to end wars than this president. And we need to see that war in Ukraine come to an end as soon as possible.
So the complexity to me, and the reason I'm glad you're both a good lawyer and a very successful businessman, is that the EU is opaque to me. It has this wild sort of giant ball of regulations that every American company's got to deal with. How do you expect to make progress on that? Because Brussels is notoriously indifferent to criticism.
So they've really started to come around. There was a report by a former Italian prime minister named Draghi. It's called the Draghi Report, which said, look, Europe, you need to be more competitive. If we're not more competitive, we're not going to last. In fact, if you go back to about 2008, the European Union had a GDP that was larger than that of the United States. It was slightly larger. It included the UK at that point, but it was a little bit larger than the US GDP. Now, if you include the UK, they're about 30% below the US. And if you take the UK out, they're 50% below the US. They've had stagnant growth for a number of years. They became over-dependent on cheap Russian oil, on believing China would be an open retail market forever, and that the United States would would spend trillions of taxpayer dollars to defend them forever. And they set up a system that just didn't work. Their economy isn't growing. And so they know they need to step up. They've now stepped up with that 5% commitment for NATO on spending GDP on defense. They're trying to step up in the regulatory area. Now they have a difficult time doing that because there's a very strong leftward-leaning movement, leftward-leaning political parties in Europe. They've been very strong in this green movement, which I think has really damaged them. Their energy costs are so high. It's so hard for Germany to compete with China, while the China car manufacturers are buying cheap oil from Russia. And Germany's stuck buying oil and energy at much higher prices and trying to convert to less effective and less efficient means of energy production. So they've made mistakes. I think they know it. I think there's an element over there that we can work with, and I'm hoping we'll make real progress.
I hope you make real progress on energy, on American business, maybe small modular reactors. But I want to close with a human interest angle, Andy Puzder. Brussels is not my idea of where I want to live. Do you like it?
Well, let me tell you, I haven't been to Brussels. I've been to Bruges. We've spent a lot of time in Paris. It is an hour, 20-minute train ride to Paris. My wife informs me. So I think we'll enjoy our time there. I'm looking forward to seeing the history, seeing the buildings, meeting the people who I've heard very good things about, particularly the people at the US-EU mission. They're supposed to be a very, very talented group of people, and I can't wait to get over there, meet them, and start in on this work. I don't know how much time I'm going to get to enjoy the weather there, Hugh. I think I'm going to be pretty busy.
Yeah. How big is our mission there? We have 1 minute, Mr. Ambassador. How big?
About 120 people. You have to remember there are three missions in Brussels. There's the Belgian embassy. There's the EU embassy, and there's the NATO embassy, and the Belgian embassy and the EU embassy are very close together. The NATO embassy is obviously at NATO's headquarters, near NATO's headquarters, but there are three embassies there, and so we have a real staff in Brussels, and I think we've got really good people there. I'm really chomping at the bit to get over there and get to work on something.
Well, Godspeed to you, and I appreciate your being willing to answer the phone when the president called and asked you to go. It's kind of a thankless task. It's in the middle of 1,000 different negotiations. I'm very glad Andy Puzder is our man in Brussels. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I'll be right back, America. Don't go anywhere. It's Friday on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
The Hugh Hewitt Show is now available on TV. Go to SalemNewsChannel.com or download the app. You can also watch on Roku and Fire Stick. Salem News Channel, the antidote to the mainstream media.